I'd like to offer two alternative theories to what happened on Christmas Eve 1975 in the Zeigler furniture store in Winter Garden, Florida. Tommy Zeigler, as you know from looking at other YouTube's videos that I've posted, has been on death row in Florida for 35 years for those crimes. Crimes happened at his furniture store. This is a diagram of the crime scene, the front of the store, the rear of the store, the four dead bodies lying up the store. According to the prosecution theory, which sent Tommy Zeigler to death row, this man, Robert Egan, believed that Tommy had killed his wife first, his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, Perry Edwards, and then lured another man, Charlie Mays, into the store to pin the crime on him. He also allowed two people to escape. This man, Edward Williams, and this man, Felton Thomas, who were likely involved in the crime themselves, but according to prosecution theory, they were just innocent people who were going to be killed by Tommy, except that they happened to have escaped. You see, the prosecution argued that Tommy Zeigler, who had called police the night of the murders, approximately at 9:15, he called the police and said he had been shot and that he thought it was a robbery. He was at his store. The police got there within 1 minute and took him to the hospital. At the hospital, the policeman looked at his wounds within a few minutes of his calling the police and found that he had a gunshot wound, and I've seen that scar, about 2 inches from his navel, right in line, and it had dried blood around the front as well as the exit wound of that gunshot wound. Their theory was that he had used a .357 Magnum pistol to shoot himself in the stomach to the right of his navel with his right hand. Almost a human impossibility. Nonetheless, that was their theory. Their theory also was based on the belief, or at least the speculation, let's say, because there was no credible evidence, the speculation that Tommy had shot his father-in-law, and then because he didn't kill him, he grabbed him around the neck with his left arm and then hit him over the head with this linoleum crank. This is a picture of Tommy's shirt that he wore that night, and you'll see a blood stain down the side of the left arm. That was the theory that the prosecution offered. 30 years later, by the way, DNA proved that that was not Perry Edwards, the father-in-law's blood on Tommy Zeigler's shirt, as Tommy said it could not possibly have been. It turns out that it was Charlie Mays' blood. And of course, Tommy has always claimed that Charlie Mays was one of those who attacked him as he came into his dark furniture store through the rear door. He was attacked. He attempted to fight back. He identified or recognized Charlie Mays as one of the attackers. And then he was shot in the stomach, and when he came to, perhaps an hour later, he called the police. That's why the blood was dried. And that's why, by the way, the prosecutor, Robert Egan, hid the report that the policeman wrote that night saying that the blood was dry. If he had turned that report over to the defense as he should have, they would have had a very good case for other people to be involved other than Tommy Zeigler. Unfortunately for Tommy Zeigler, the prosecutor chose to ignore all other theories of that crime except the possibility, the most absurd possibility, in fact, that Tommy Zeigler killed all these people for no particular reason other than for an insurance policy on his wife, which would have been about a $500,000 payout. He had a thriving furniture store and rental apartments that were worth probably in the neighborhood of $1 million. Why would he be doing this at the age of 30 when he was quite involved in politics and indeed trying to shut down a loan sharking ring that was actually going on among the migrant laborers in that community. And that's one of the theories that the prosecutor chose not to investigate. Tommy Zeigler was trying to shut down a loan sharking operation that involved migrant workers. This man, Charlie Mays, was a crew chief for the migrant workers. And he, as it turns out, may have been the killer, the hired killer of another store owner that had been killed in Winter Garden just a few years earlier, because a detective on the Orange County Police Department investigated the loan sharking operation and found evidence that Charlie Mays had been paid $5,000 to shoot another store owner whose name is Shorty Reddick, and that crime has never been solved. Yet this man, Robert Egan, wrote a letter to the Sheriff Department and actually threatened the detective who was doing that undercover investigation of the migrant worker loan sharking. He told the department of the Sheriff Department not to investigate. He told that detective that if he actually continued his investigation, he would charge him with obstruction of justice, because Robert Egan wanted to have only one theory presented to the jury, and that was that Tommy Zeigler had killed 4 people and shot himself in the stomach. Now, so that's one theory that obviously should have been investigated, should still be investigated even 35 years later. But there's an alternative theory that just came to light within the last few months. A detective from out of state called me just in the last couple of months and said he had evidence that may show where a ring that was missing from Eunice Zeigler's finger the night of the murders is now located. That ring was a very expensive diamond ring that she always wore on her right hand. As you can see from this picture, there's no ring on her right hand in this crime scene photo. The detective suggests that it is possible that this information is credible and that the ring is in a safety deposit box in Georgia. It would take a court order to get that box opened. We are pleading with the police, with the current state attorney of Orange County, to vacate Zeigler's sentence. Do some more investigation of these possibilities, because indeed one reason this is very credible information about this missing ring is that Felton Thomas lived then as a young man and still lives now as an elderly, or at least in his 50s person, may have been the one that stole that ring. And why would he have done that? Well, obviously a $15,000 ring is worth a lot of money. We know at least that it's never been found in all these years, and now we have information that it is in a safety deposit box in an area of Georgia where this man lives, and it is at least worth the investigation that we are begging the police to do before they decide to execute an innocent man who has already had his life destroyed by malicious prosecution.